What is your employment, please?
I'm a fitter's mate.
You're a fitter's mate?
That's correct, yes.
I see. I'm awfully sorry there's no vacancy quite suitable this morning. You sign here, don't you?
That's correct, yes.
What when you come in again?
Wednesdays, not Thursdays.
Right, I'll call in again at Wednesday.
Right, thanks very much.
Maybe a suitable vacancy.
Right, thank you.
The unemployed. They are not such a burning political question as they were at the beginning of the year. The numbers of those out of work are down, and perhaps the general election's a little further away. And it seems to me that this is the right time to examine this whole problem as dispassionately as one can. Is it, for example, a mainly political problem? Can any political party really guarantee that unemployment shall never rise above a certain level? And is the right to work, which I think we all claim, a right that can always be met? Because, of course, when we think about the right to work, we mean the right to work at union rates or at whatever rate of pay we think is a living wage. And in a country which has to sell so much abroad, it may not always be possible for this rate to be met. Other people may not buy what we make. Now, I think the people who think most deeply about these things are probably the economists, because they study how we make and spend our money. So before going out into the country, I talked to two of the younger economists in London, Mr. Neild, who edits the National Institute's Economic Review, and Mr. McCrae, who is an assistant editor of the magazine called The Economist.
Well, I think those who are unemployed are performing a not often understood service for the rest of us, and that they ought to be paid more for it. You see, of the unemployment we've had this year, some has been due to demand being held down in order to try to avoid price inflation or balance of payments difficulties in a world trade recession. Some has been due to things like Clean Air Act, social advances, but which threaten the jobs of miners who mine smoky coal. Some has been due to automation, which has got considerable advantages creeping on and bringing some automation unemployment with it. Some has been due to awkwardnesses arising from the operation of free trade unions in a free society, the prices out of some markets. Now, I don't know how much the British people want to sacrifice these things in order to get brimful employment. But insofar as we have had some degree of price stability in the last year, and have done rather well with the balance of payments during the world trade recession, and have maintained free collective bargaining, it's the unemployed that have been bearing the burden of it.
You mean that we must be prepared to have something like the present level of unemployment sometimes and to pay for it?
Yes.
Well, I think a certain minimum of unemployment is bound to be necessary, because there are always people changing their jobs who are sick and this, that and the other, who are bound to be unemployed. And I think that the right object of policy is to have enough jobs to accommodate all those except those who are changing their jobs, are sick, or who are unemployed for quite short periods. I don't believe that one should have more unemployment than that. I think we now do have considerably more than that, and I think that's unnecessary. I don't regard unemployment rising above this minimum level as desirable or as a desirable way of trying to cure other economic problems. I think that that is wrong. And here I think one thing I'd like to emphasize, that I think where I differ from those who advocate for a rather higher level of unemployment for the sake of price stability or the balance of payments or some other reason, is that I think that's a very slippery slope. Once you start advocating unemployment as a means to other ends, you may get led on, because at first a little unemployment doesn't succeed, to have more and more. And experience shows, I think, that a little more unemployment is not enough to produce price stability.
Two conflicting theories. The one, that unemployment is sometimes necessary and should be paid for. The other, that it never need rise above any chosen figure. But first, how many unemployed really are there? Well, many more people would like to work than the published figures show. When dockers have nothing to do, they get fallback pay, and so they don't register. People on short time may have been working the day the census was taken, but not the day before. Women who lose jobs often don't register, as, for instance, in the cotton industry. Do you always work at the same mill?
Yes.
And when did they close down?
About a month ago.
Now, are you looking for another job?
No, not at the moment, no.
Are you registered as unemployed?
No, I haven't registered, no.
Mrs. Smithcott, are you in work at the moment?
Yes, I work at the Oldham Tourist Company.
Now, is there any danger of that closing down or not?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, we're doing short time.
You're doing short time?
We're doing short time, but I don't think it'll close down. Not off. Well, they're trying hard to keep it open, I think.
How many days a week are you actually working?
4.
4?
Yeah.
Now, supposing it did close down, would you look for other work?
Well, I don't think so. I'm on short time, too.
How long have you been on short time?
Oh, about 6 or 7 months.
Unlike the years between the wars, most of those who want work, instead of being concentrated in large depressed areas, are scattered round the coast. Places like Anglesey, where mechanization on the land has enabled the small farmer to do without hired labor. There are 4 times as many unemployed here as in most parts of the country. In ports like Barrow, where ship repairing has been slacked, and where other industries suffer because of the drop in ship repairers' wages. Here there are twice as many unemployed as in the rest of the country. Or in the Highlands of Scotland, which are too remote to attract much industry. Many people have left, but many still cling to the country, even though for much of the year there's nothing to do. Or again, at the opposite end of our islands, a place one doesn't normally associate with unemployment, Cornwall. In the summer months, the streets of St Ives are so packed with people that it's almost impossible to move through them. But in winter, it's a quiet little fishing town. And yet the unemployment in St Ives, and in West Cornwall as a whole, is not only seasonal. Tin mining, china clay, ship repairing, and fishing have all declined. There used to be several hundred boats in the little bay, where today there are only a handful. And fishing, like farming, is a way of life it's not easy to change, as was explained to me by Mr. and Mrs. Kerr. What's happened? Why is the fishing so much less good than it used to be?
Well, it's really, it's less fish.
Why are there less fish?
Well, we blame the trawlers.
Deep sea trawlers?
Deep sea trawlers, yes. And the pilchard season, really, I think it's for the lack of buyers. We don't get enough buyers. We only got the 1 buyer at the moment.
But the deep sea fish, if you could catch them, you'd sell them, would you?
Oh, definitely, yes.
What do you feel about the future? Are you going to stick to it?
Well, we've got to, you see, because our life is into it.
You own your boat?
We own our own boat, yes. 3 brothers. And we just can't do anything else.
Would you take an odd job if there was one, or would you simply stick it out?
Well, we should stick it out, definitely.
Mrs. Kerr, are you born in Cornwall? Are you a Cornish woman?
No.
Where do you come from?
St Helens, Lancashire.
Would you like your husband to leave Cornwall and go and look for a job elsewhere?
Well, no, because I know George couldn't work ashore, because he's never worked ashore. And he couldn't do it.
Do you ever go out fishing with him?
Dear life, no, I'd be sick on dry land. No, I couldn't.
What about your children? You've got 2 boys. Do you hope they'll stay down here in Cornwall and get a job here, or do you like to see them move into the rest of the country?
Well, I'm not. I'm going to try and stand in the way as regards fishing, because, I mean, the fish is going less, and I wouldn't like to think if they did get married, as the wife, whoever they marry, was going to have the worry and saying, well, what am I going to do at the end of the week? And then I think it's too much responsibility. I mean, I'm used to it now, but I shouldn't like to think as it'd step in the way of any, happiness in married life for them.
But even if they do turn their backs on fishing, it isn't any longer easy for young people in Cornwall to find something to do. And in the next few years, many more boys and girls will be leaving school than usual because of what is called the bulge. When did you leave school?
Oh, about 2 years ago.
And what have you been doing since then?
Well, I was up to Castle for about 5 or 6 weeks as training as a commis waiter. Then I went down to the Dole, well, the season ended then, and then I went down to the Dole. There, I found a job for myself on a pig farm.
Are you in a job now?
No, I'm back on Dole. I've been, since then I was out at Balmoral working.
But have you ever thought of moving away from here and finding a job elsewhere?
Well, I've been up to London for about 5 or 6 weeks, but couldn't find nothing.
What do you do most of the day?
Well, nothing really.
Nothing important. I play a game of billiards and go to pictures, but nothing after that.
And yet jobs are infinitely various. This old country house might have become a ruin. Today, the butler's pantry is a developing room for a business which specializes in school photography all over Britain. Distance doesn't matter because the equipment is light and finished photographs go by post. So there's hope even for furthest Cornwall. In the long months when there are no tourists, Cornish girls are being taught new skills.
Do you find it easy to learn this?
Well, most of it is, you've got to just learn it. It's quite easy to pick up once you concentrate on it.
And you like it?
Yes, I love it, yeah.
Well, now what happens in the summer during the tourist season? Because this closes down then, doesn't it?
Yes. Well, we're laid off for 8 weeks in the summer, but around here as a tourist place, we can get plenty of employment, different things.
What do you do yourself then?
Well, I intend to help Mummy. We take in visitors, a few.
Oh, in your farmhouse,
yes.
do you? What,
one or two, friends, people come down to spend a holiday with us, so I help her. There's plenty of work to do, and it'll be harvest as well, so.
And you fill them up with Cornish cream?
I don't know about that.
Mr. Tevish, what is your reason for coming?
Our main reason was because we've been searching for many years for something to fill up the gap in the school holidays, the long summer vacation. And we felt if we came down here that we could make use of the labour in the off-tourist season and release it during the height of the tourist season. And by that means we could either save wages or we could alternatively take part in the tourist business ourselves in that time.
Well, are you hoping to expand down here?
Yes, our programme has been made out for the next few years, in which we hope to bring down more and more of our school business here, so as to make use of local labour in the off-tourist season, and then we shall hope to expand and develop the property as a botanical gardens to cater for the summer visitor, and by that means we hope to be able to retain the staff all the year round.
And I suppose the fact that this is a very nice house, that you have a nice home on top of your work, is also a consideration.
Undoubtedly. Now, who wants to work in the smoky old Midlands when they can be living in a beautiful place like this?
Well, there is some smoke in the Midlands, but not nearly as much as up in the north or in South Wales. I remember South Wales in the 30s, when almost every valley seemed to be at a standstill and only the coal mines were operating. Today, it's the opposite. Most of the valleys are thriving, but some of these old tin plate works and some of the old coal mines, like this one at Cwmllynfell, that's about the nearest I can get to the pronunciation, are closing down. Until the beginning of this year, more than 300 miners were employed here. How far afield are they going in their search for work?
There are some people going down to Swansea. There's other people going to near Llanelli. But we are not very anxious to move from here because we own our own homes.
You own your own house?
Yes.
Have you done a lot to it?
Yes, I've modernized it throughout.
Yourself?
Yes.
But supposing you can't get work here, will you be prepared to move?
Yes, subject to me being able to sell the house, which is very unlikely in a place where there's no employment available.
Are there any houses to sell here now?
There is about 7 for sale here now, and it's rather difficult for them to sell them.
So you mean you'd rather stay unemployed and stick to your home than move away if you couldn't sell it? Even
Yes,
if you've got a job?
I would be inclined to be that way.
And Mr. Thornton, would you hate the idea of moving?
Yes, I hate the idea. Of course, if circumstances will compel me, I'll have to, I suppose.
You worked here all your life?
Oh, yes.
And you've only been a miner? You haven't any other skill yet?
Nothing else, just mining.
How much does the redundancy pay plus the unemployment benefit come to now?
£9.2 actually, dead on.
Is that much of a drop from what you were earning when you were in the mine?
Well, it is a little, yes.
Mrs. Thornton, have you had to cut down on housekeeping?
Oh, yes, quite a bit, yes.
What sort of thing?
Well, we don't get to, I don't buy joints of meat like I used to, big joints, cut it down, of course. But the children don't suffer at all. We manage as it is now.
But when the redundancy pay ceases, if nothing has come here, won't you want to move then?
Well, I'll have to be pretty hard for me to want to move. I don't want to move. I know everybody. Everybody knows me, and my family live here. And, well, I've been brought up here. I don't...
And you like the valley itself?
Yes, I love it, yes.
I mean, I go for, especially when the weather is a bit different than when it is now at the moment, I go for walks up the mountains along here. Nothing to beat it.
And you'd really hate to.
Oh, I would hate. All my friends around here, I mean, if I had to move, probably they'd have to move. We'd all be scattered. Got a lot of fun together now. We'll never get that again.
Like St Ives, Cwmllynfell is remote, and because it was a tin plate centre, has been harder hit than other Welsh towns. Has it got an industrial future? Its mayor is a schoolmaster.
The boys who left now at Christmas time can only find jobs which are really dead-end jobs, jobs in garages, pouring out petrol, or jobs taking around errands for shops, or jobs of that character.
And these are boys of a pretty high standard?
Oh, quite a good standard. The boys who some 3 years ago would find work in industry very easily.
What about apprenticeships? Are there very few available?
Very few. Last year, there were only 25 apprenticeships available in the whole of the area.
Well, now, what do you want them to do? Or shouldn't they go out into the country and hitchhike their way around and find jobs in the north or in London or something?
Well, if that happens, that will depopulate our area. It'll ruin our cultural pattern. It'll mean that the town ultimately will lose its best people, its more vigorous people, and the town ultimately will become populated by old people and people who perhaps will not be so ambitious.
Now, I don't want to seem unsympathetic, but if one was looking at this very coldly, is not that bound to happen? Why should any industrialist come down here? What is that you have to offer to induce him to come?
Well, we feel that we have so much to offer them. We feel that here you've had an industrial pattern for over 200 years, that some of the great English industrialists came into this area and made their way here very well. And we feel that we have some 700 acres now of land available for factories. We have some 28 million gallons of water, which is spare each week, which will never dry up even in the driest of summers. We have factory sites with gas and electricity laid on. We're on the main railway line to London and other parts. And we have, above all, an admirable amount or number of people of first-class quality who are adaptable for any industries.
At the moment, I'm in Dundee, which is the centre of the jute industry. And jute is the textile, the thread, that makes all the sacks we use for harvesting, any sort of sacking. But today, sacks are giving way to new forms of paper bag. Bags for fertilizer, for cement, even for coal. And so jute has declined. By the beginning of this year, 1 person in 20 in Dundee was out of a job. Less than some other parts of Scotland, but a lot for one town. And of course, Dundee too is remote. New industries have come and more are coming, but their development takes time, which for those who are waiting can mean real hardship. Do you own your own house?
No, I don't own one house.
Is it a council house?
Yes.
What sort of rent do you have to pay?
£2.9.
And you're paying that now on benefit, are you?
Yes.
Doesn't leave much over, does it?
No, it was me £1.11, I think, or £4.
Have you got a lot of hire purchase payments to meet?
Well, not a lot of hire purchase, but I do have hire purchase.
And you can put those off for a bit, can you?
You just have to put them off, nothing else for it.
Now, are you hoping to find another job soon? Do you think you're going to?
Well, the way things are looking just now, I don't think of anything just now, but of the building trade, I may have a chance of having a job in the building trade.
You aren't a skilled?
No, I'm not skilled, I'm just a labourer, more or less.
But you haven't much hope of jute?
Not at the moment. The way things are looking just now, anyway. Near on short time, more or less.
Now, supposing building didn't pick up, would you think of leaving Dundee and looking for something nearby?
No, I wouldn't leave Dundee.
Not on any account?
No, I wouldn't leave Dundee.
Oh, the money's better now than what it was years and years ago.
How much have you been earning lately?
Exactly £8.5 and 6pence.
Well, now, what do you think the prospects are now? Are you hoping to be taken back again?
Oh, yes, yes.
Do you think you will be soon?
Oh, yes.
Are you going to look for anything else meanwhile?
Well, maybe in a week or two I will.
What sort of job might you look for?
Or the jute.
Be what?
The jute.
Jute again?
Jute again.
In Dundee, Mr. Carr had only recently lost his job. But here in Merseyside, unemployment's a much longer standing. The dockers aren't on the register, but there are a good many days when they've nothing to do. And there are several thousand other men. Ship repairers, merchant seamen, transport workers, engineers, even people in the catering and distributive trades, who've been out of work for many months, and some of them for as long as 2 years. And yet Merseyside's a place into which a great deal of new industry has been brought since the war. In the last 10 years, 40,000 new jobs have been created by firms which have never been here before. It's a rather puzzling problem. I asked the secretary of the Liverpool Chamber of Commerce, Colonel Burford, why he thought unemployment was so persistent.
The main thing is a very high birth rate. For whatever reason that happens, I wouldn't know, but it does. But the result of it is that what would have meant a substantial cure in unemployment in other places has just about kept it, unfortunately, sort of steady here.
You mean you've got a much higher rate here than the rest of the country?
I wouldn't know about the rest of the country, but it is extremely high.
Well, now, what are you hoping to do? Do you intend to try and make people move from here, or are you hoping to attract still more industry in?
To my mind, there are three things. People have got to move, there's no doubt about it, to some extent. They do move, and, well, good luck to them. Let them wish them every luck at the other end. That's one thing. Then there's got to be, let's call it a stimulation of demand, more demand for the existing products and the existing factories in this area generally, so they can take on more people to add to their present staffs. And on top of that, one does still want more people to come here.
You mean you've got a lot of people who are not using their capacity to the full?
A lot of people are not using their capacity to the full.
For the first time, we're inland. Like Dundee, Nelson in Lancashire is a town that has grown around one industry, cotton weaving. But as the industry has modernized, scores of old mills are closing down. Unless they can sell their homes, people are reluctant to leave, although there is work in other parts of Lancashire. For older people, who've been in the same mill since they were boys, the change is especially hard. As for Mr. Parrington.
Well, I applied for a part-time job under the education department at the schools. Well, there's no vacancies yet. And I went to the Labour Exchange last Friday, and he said, well, I can't find work for the regulars, never mind part-time. Anyway, he took my name and address, and whether anything will turn out or not, I couldn't say.
What'll you do if it doesn't? Will you try and sell this house and move? Or?
Oh, no. No, we'll have to just carry on and do the best we can. If the pension had been a bit more, 50 shillings like nothing nowadays, is it? It could have been a lot better. And then another thing, the cotton trade's been short of a pension scheme, like other industries.
It hasn't had it?
No, I've never had a pension scheme. Well, I think myself it's been a big mistake. Because if they'd had a pension scheme and I'd got a pension on top of my state pension, well, I don't think I should have bothered about any work. I think I should have been able to manage.
I think three things have already become clear. The unemployed are of all ages, from those who've just left school to those over 60 who are apt to be the first to be laid off when work gets short. And they come from a great variety of trades. And except for places like Merseyside, they're not in large depressed areas, such as Tyneside was before the war. Tyneside today is a very prosperous place. What then can be done? There's no doubt that the chief remedy is the recreation of demand. Now, that's been going on for some time. It began when the banks made it easier to borrow money, when hire purchase became easier, and recently the government's been encouraging industrialists to expand and build new factories and so on. In other words, we're all spending more, and it looks as if already we're spending quite a lot more. But there are places and people whom this new demand doesn't reach. People in remote parts of the country, or in cotton towns like Nelson, which have been dependent on one industry which is changing. But they're places which people don't want to leave. And yet, of course, to move is another remedy. It is a way of finding a job. And it's surprising how many people do move. Every year, millions of people change their jobs, and tens of thousands actually move their homes. And of course, if you do move, you can get help, although comparatively few people seem to be aware of the fact or to take advantage of it. For example, Mr. and Mrs. Port have recently moved from Ramsgate to Kingston. Was it a great blow in their lives?
Well, it was in a way, because all my family live at Ramsgate, and, you know, you miss my mother and, you know, you miss them all. But I liked this house, I liked the garden, I'm very fond of gardening, and it was so much nicer to feel we were going to be together after being, you know, separated, my husband in Diggs and me on my own at Ramsgate.
Before we moved, I received a weekly lodging allowance of 35 shillings from the Ministry of Labour, and then when the time came for us to move our house, my moving expenses, furniture, etc., was paid, and I also received the maximum allowance, I think it's £50, towards my solicitor's expenses and the cost of my transfer of house, etc.
Do you reckon you were actually out of pocket on it, or just about covered?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I should say I was a little out of pocket on it.
And what about this house? Have you had any help towards that?
No, not at all.
Is it more expensive here than it was in Ramsgate?
Certainly, because our house there was entirely our own, but here we have to pay a small mortgage, and naturally our expense is a little higher through that.
But are you earning as good money here as you were there?
I'm earning better money.
So by and large, the move hasn't affected you financially?
Well, I feel that taking it all round, with our son living with us now, we are financially in a better position than we were then.
Mr. and Mrs. Port were lucky. They found the house. For many, changing jobs means separation, the man in lodgings and the family at home until a new house is available. And so, the counterpart of the movement of people, industry itself is encouraged to move, or to expand where people are, as for instance in Scotland. This hotel has just applied for a grant to enable Strathpeffer to develop as a spa and help expand tourism in the Highlands. Under a recent act, any firm, large or small, can be lent money by the Board of Trade. In South Wales, a wartime factory has recently been leased cheaply to a foreign firm making metal bearings.
Mr. Keener, what made you choose Wales to come and start a factory in?
Oh, because I liked it here very much, and I think it reminds me a lot of Switzerland.
But this doesn't look like Switzerland at all?
No, it doesn't, but I think it's not the countryside which I would like to compare, but it's the habit of living. As you know, Switzerland is a small country, and Wales has a lot of common with Switzerland in this respect. You know your neighbours, you know the countryside, you know where you are going, you know your neighbourhood quite well. You do the same in Switzerland.
Now, did you find this factory on your own, or were you sent here by the Board of Trade, or what?
At first I was looking around myself, but then I went to the Board of Trade, and they were extremely helpful, and they put me to this factory here in Devon.
And have you got this at a reasonable rate?
Yes, very reasonable.
And what about the work people here? Yours is a precision industry, and I don't suppose they've done that before at all, have they?
No, but I think we found labour very adaptable indeed. We didn't have the trouble we expected at first, and we are very surprised about the quality.
They've learnt it very quickly?
Quicker than we thought.
And how do they compare with your work people in Germany?
I think they are even a little bit better in productivity. I would say slightly better than on the continent.
That's very interesting. Even though they've only been at it for a few months?
Yes.
Does that mean that you hope to expand here if all goes well?
Oh yes, definitely. I think we have every reason to believe that we can expand.
In Wigan, where a rayon factory has closed, the Reed Group, which has 10 other factories in different parts of the country, has moved in. They make corrugated packaging.
But what made you choose this pathway?
Well, in the first place, there was unemployment here, and we have experience of the labour in this area, and we thought it was quite suitable for us to expand here.
Now, how many people are you likely to employ here when you're in full production?
Well, immediately we shall employ 350 people. When we're in full production, we shall employ approximately 800.
Is it more women than men? Or?
About 50-50.
So you'll employ more than the people who were here before?
Oh, undoubtedly. Twice as many, I would say.
Now, do you have difficulty in persuading your executives and key staff to come and live up in this part of the world?
Not at all. Our senior staff are quite flexible in this matter. And, of course, we do make arrangements to see that they don't suffer financially.
What do you mean? I mean, you give them special grants?
Oh, yes, indeed. Where our employees have to do a straightforward moving operation, we pay removal expenses. In certain cases, we pay for the sale and purchase of houses.
And this has nothing to do with the sort of national schemes. This is simply the company.
This is the company's own arrangements.
Have you had any help from the government at all?
In the case of this factory, we have had the transfer of the factory expedited, and that's been very useful to us, but no financial help in this case.
But the problem is not only to take industry where unemployment is, but if possible to anticipate it. Bristol is not yet a scheduled area, but because rockets, missiles and jet propulsion have reduced the number of aircraft that we need, many people fear it may become so.
Speaking for the men down here and myself, the security of this seems very poor at the moment. We are on our last Britannias at the moment, and we just can't see anything in the future. And I should say most people are fairly despondent about it.
You don't see any other aircraft coming along here that you're going to be able to work on?
We're not in the foreseeable future. Well, probably by 65 we might have something, but of course that's a bit too late for the majority of people.
Now, supposing you get laid off, is there anything else, any other trade you could go into here, in this area?
I've been in engineering all my life. I don't know any other trade myself.
Well, I work in the Rodney Works, the division of the engine works at the VAC.
What do you feel about the future? Are you fairly secure?
Well, we feel pretty secure in the present situation, but I must say that we have no reasons at all for any complacency.
Well, I work in the guided weapon department at Filton.
Well, now that sounds as if it ought to have a secure future. What do you feel?
Well, maybe it is. It seems secure at the moment, but with all this redundancy around us at Filton, it doesn't seem very secure.
You feel anxious as well?
I feel anxious as well, quite, yeah.
I asked Sir Reginald Verdon-Smith, head of the Bristol Aircraft Company, if the industry would continue to contract.
So far as the Bristol area is concerned, I think we shall see contraction, yes. You have to remember the tremendous increase there was in the industry generally at and immediately following Korea, which increased the numbers employed from 150 to 250,000 purely for a military program, and some contraction, yes, we do expect.
Now, assuming that the aircraft industry does have to lay off a large number of men, are you, as chairman of the local employment committee, happy about reabsorbing them into other industries in this area?
Well, so far the record of the Ministry of Labour in Bristol has been very encouraging, and although in the 15 months up to now, the Bristol Aeroplane group of factories has reduced the employed population by something up to 2,500. Only about 70 of those people are on the books of the exchange at present. But that is not necessarily a position that we can hope will continue. As it is, unemployment in Bristol has risen over the last 3.5 years from something under 2,000 to something over 5,600. And this has been a progressive trend which hasn't really been checked by seasonal variations.
So you feel that something more has got to be done?
I certainly feel that something more has to be done, and the local employment committee in Bristol is very actively engaged in trying to get the Board of Trade to allow us to attract more industry, more varied industries to Bristol.
Are the inducements allowed under the Distribution of Industry Act enough, do you think, or do you want special measures?
Well, we want to make sure that we are not prejudiced by the present measures putting the country into two classes, those that have special consideration and those that have none. We think there is a case for more help for us.
Well, for Bristol, help is planned. As the production of aircraft runs down, new chemical factories are being built in the Severn Valley, which will offer alternative employment. But will they be ready in time to prevent men being thrown on the dole? Can we always plan great changes in industry so that there is never a gap in employment? These are practical problems, which I discussed with two men who bear great responsibility in industry. First, Mr. Frank Cousins, General Secretary of the Transport and General Workers Union.
Well, how can we guarantee everybody's right to work, especially if we've got to change our employment quite often?
Well, when you say, how can we guarantee every man's right to work, surely there will be times when men are in process of changing from job to job.
Yeah.
We have to regard it as a national concern, not a concern of an individual person. We have to say that the policy which a government, not necessarily this government, any government will pursue, is that if a man is ready and willing to change, he has security during transitional periods. He has employment pay that is at least enough to keep him and his family away from the position of having to seek public assistance. He has to have training facilities provided for him. He has to have grants to move from point to point. And he has to have everything that makes him feel he's a person of dignity and not a person who is just trying to get a job because he's out of work.
Are you suggesting that we should pay people roughly the same wage, whether they're in work or out of work?
Yes, it's because I've been saying this for a number of years now, that we cannot afford people to get into the position where they try to maintain a job that is obsolete. We cannot afford, in fact, to get them to the stage where their only income is derived from proving that they ought to be at a work, whether it's wanted or not. Their income ought to be coming from either work or trading for work that is required by all of us.
Are you at all afraid, though, of creating a class of people who will, in fact, get paid for not working?
No. No, of course, we tend to look at all these things in the atmosphere of present day. That is that a man is regarded, if he can get a living without doing any work, as rather smart. But it's only because it's in the background of the present circumstances. If we adopt the idea that the responsibility of all of us is to ensure that we all have a better standard of living, then the man who is temporarily moving from one job to another is entitled to say, it isn't for my affair that I'm doing it, it's for all our affairs, I'm entitled to be paid. But not to sit back on it, and men don't normally.
What about the difficulty, though, that you get these pockets round the extremities of this country where it's very difficult to move from or to move industry to?
Of course, it's not going to be an easy problem because there's always been a reluctance to take industry to men in those sort of areas because primarily profit motive itself has determined the attitude of employers. They have not been willing to take the long haul from places in South Wales or North Wales into London when they could get trading premises in London or in the Midlands. There's been no planning of industry, and we'll have to face the fact that if we're going to tackle this problem of permanent employment for all of us, we shall have to plan industry.
Finally, to one of our largest employers of labour, Lord Chandos. I asked him if he felt that unemployment was bound to recur in some sort of cycle, or whether it could be eliminated.
I think the real difficulty is that we are operating on extremely small margins and over a very big economy. What I mean by the small margin is, rather taking Mr. Micawber's approach to this sort of thing, is that a government with, say, 300,000 unemployed and a more or less steady figure at that, would say this is happiness. On the other hand, 450,000 unemployed with a slightly rising tendency, this is misery. And when you think that these figures apply to a gainfully employed population of about 24 million, you'll see that you're trying to produce an extremely sensitive balance over an enormous field. And that is one of the things which, in our psychological atmosphere, is going to produce this up and down business, because the instruments you can use are rather too blunt to produce these extremely delicate results.
But do you think the instruments that are now being used are the right ones?
Of course, because I think that all a government can do is to produce a climate in which business operates. Once you get into the field of physical controls over materials and so on, you would require a government department with an office, a 27-story office, stretching from Tower Bridge to the Victoria, to the House of Commons.
Well, if you think that some such cycle is inevitable, and in that case the unemployed are rarely performing a national service,
Do you think we ought to pay them a full wage while they are unemployed?
Well, I'm afraid I arrive at extraordinarily dull conclusions on this thing. I think that if you attempt to run the country upon economic factors, I think you will have a disastrous condition. I mean, once you say it's highly desirable that the industries which are either static or declining should lose their labor to those that are expanding or going to expand, and you say this is how we're going to run the thing, I think you are going to get into great trouble, and I think you heartily deserve it. Because you cannot run the thing. The country happens to have 50-odd million people in it. If, on the other hand, you take a purely humanist view of it and say that nobody at any time is ever to be without work, and that if he doesn't get on with his present employer, there must be another job waiting over the road for him, I think you'll get into an equal disaster. So, driven back to the rather G. June conclusion that the Aurea mediocritas, the golden mean, is the only way to run the thing. You can't run an economic policy without considering all the time what the human cost is. Nor can you run a purely humanist policy without considering all the time the economic.
Do you think that the right method of tackling the problem as it is now is to take industry to the areas where people are out of work, or to get those people to move?
Oh, I think wherever practicable, you must take industry to where to the people.
I don't believe that the differences between Mr. Cousins and Lord Chandos are fundamental. Both seem to me to assume that short of some catastrophe in the outside world over which we have no control, we're never going to have to go back to the days of the 30s. And of course it's true that we have got infinitely more control, both nationally and internationally, over the way we make and spend our money today than we had 2 generations ago. And that means, of course, overemployment. And I think it's also true, in spite of the party catchwords, those who sneer at planning and those who protest that there isn't any, that there is a great deal of planning. But of course, planning has its limits. Now, what planner could have imagined that school photography might be the answer to unemployment in southwest Cornwall? And what planner can make sure that a new chemical process is perfected just at the moment that a new chemical industry is needed in the Severn Valley to take the place of a declining aircraft industry? Planning has its limits. And so, if our standard of living is to continue to rise, and here I may be contradicting some of our more confident economists and politicians, I believe that unemployment will continue to fluctuate, that from time to time there may be many thousands of people who are finding it difficult to get a job, and about whom we must think. Because, as Mr. Cousins said, it doesn't matter how many or how few unemployed there are, they are the concern of us all. And if we're to help them, as Lord Chandos said, industry must move. And that means small firms as well as large. Now, you can't order a firm any more than an individual to pack up and go. But are the inducements large enough? After all, houses, a town, the whole character of a small community are part of our national capital. And the money we spend on them won't be wasted and will come back to us. I doubt if we can pay people for not working as much as for working. But on the other hand, can we rely indefinitely on unemployment insurance as it now stands? Haven't we got to move on, even from Lord Beveridge? Haven't redundancy schemes, extended notice schemes, schemes for retraining, got to become part of our social security? If we press our claim of the right to work to the point of no interruption, we shall impoverish ourselves. But surely at this stage, we can ensure that the interruption shall not bring misery and humiliation.